Right, a big welcome now to Shane Bland, who is goalkeeper and club captain of Whitby Town. Welcome to the non-league radio show, Shane.
Cheers, mate. Thank you for having me.
No, not a problem at all. Now, I sent you a list of questions, and when you said they were good questions, I was quite impressed.
Yeah, very, very good questions, mate. Yeah, really happy with them.
So we'll start at the top, and we'll work our way through. So I just want to find out your earliest memories of yourself playing football.
Obviously, I remember it right from the very start. Obviously, starting just playing football on the streets and on a school field or on my own home field. Just around about 7-year-old. I remember just getting my first pair of boots and my first football kit, and like I said, just going from there really.
And was there a certain thing that made you interested in football? Was it a local team, or was it a parent or family member?
I think it was just playing the sport, just getting to know, obviously watching it on the telly from a young age. And then, like I said, there was a local lad in the newspaper, in our local newspaper. And from there, that's where it really took off. And, and that's why I'm, where I'm at today.
And I've got to ask, but I probably know the answer. Who did you support as a boy and probably still support?
So I'm a Middlesbrough fan. Always have been. Like I said, I've had when I was a kid, I had a bit of a soft touch for Man United as well. Just loved like the likes of, Ruud van Nistelrooy. You had the likes of, it was between that 2004, 2006 era where, obviously, you had the likes of Beckham, Van Nistelrooy, Ronaldo was just coming onto the scene. So yeah, like I say, I've always been a true Middlesbrough supporter, and obviously, to play for the club and represent the club at a young age, that was a privilege as well.
And goalkeeper being a specialist position, did you always want to be a goalkeeper, or did you play a different position when you were younger?
You know what? I remember, turning up. I remember turning up to obviously where I started off, and I just turned up. Just I didn't have a position. I potentially would have liked to be a striker. I ended up being left back for the school, and then from there it was like it was just one of those where it just the coach who invited me down, he basically just said, do you fancy going in goal? And then, put a pair of gloves on, and that was it really.
And just moving on from there, obviously you got into the goalkeeping. What do you love most about the position you play?
I think I like that it's an individual role. It's an important role. I like the fact that, it's, as a kid, it doesn't matter what conditions you would play in, whether it was boggy, whether it was, the decent pitches, obviously playing for the academy. You just love to dive about. And, I just like the little things about goalkeeping, being brave, catching crosses, coming for, your distribution, etc. Just stuff like that, really. And just what really excited me was just the fact that when I signed for my first club, as a junior, was the potential of getting my first ever proper pair of goalkeeper gloves and my first ever kit. And I remember to this day it was like a baby blue goalkeeper top with the original black shorts, black socks. And then, it just, the little things in goalkeeping just made you fall in love with it.
And we touched on it earlier, I think, but if you could play in another position, what would that be if you had another choice?
Well, like I said, I played left back for the school. Obviously, I still, even though I was a goalkeeper, I enjoy playing left back. But yeah, if I was going to play a position now, potentially going on ability, I would probably play like a sitting midfielder. bit that little camp, that little CDM role where, you don't have to do a lot of running. Just getting on the ball and just, pinging the ball left, right, and centre, really.
The next two questions are probably mixed into one. I was going to ask you the first club you played for, and then when did you sign your first contract in football?
So the first team I played for was Formsby, which, to be fair, at the time, and it still is, a well-run, junior club. I played for them for 2 years. And, the manager, Glenn Doyle, like I said, he invited me down. Obviously, he invited me down, and he basically, showed me the ropes of, obviously in the football, and, obviously just learning the sport, learning, all the rules. But yeah, I mean, the Formsby's a fantastic club. Obviously, it's only down the road from myself. And it just, it's a club that brings, such a small community together. And, I mean, like I said, I'm massively thankful for that team. I mean, the coach who used to take me for that team, he actually, I mean, I run a under 15s team now, and he actually runs the under 15s for Formsby. So, when we see him or we have a friendly or whatever, we always talk about those, the times where we used to go to, Skegness on a summer trip, etc. So yeah, I mean, it's a good club. And like I said, it's, that's where I got started.
I don't know if it's classed as a semi-professional contract or a professional contract. So, where were you before? No. Whitby or?
So yeah, I mean, going on to the contract, I basically, so I signed my first. I mean, you could probably call it a proper contract. My first contract for Middlesbrough at 12-year-old. Obviously, in the academy. And then from there, I think the one probably up from that was signing my scholarship with the club. It was unlucky that, I didn't get a professional contract with the club, obviously, what I've grew up with, but, that's football. And then to go to Whitby and sign my, my first, my first semi-professional contract, and, potentially be there for the next, 10 years is a massive achievement. But yeah, I would say, yeah, I'd probably go down with Middlesbrough for my first contract.
Good stuff. And we're getting on to Whitby now. So your personal training schedule and obviously the clubs, do you have your own training schedule as well as the clubs? I don't know how many nights a week you train, or is it like 2 or 3 nights a week after work?
Yeah, so I mean, we potentially, I mean, it's with the games at the moment. Obviously, it's still early doors in the season. Normally from September, from August time to around about this time, you're always having Saturday, Tuesday, and we'll always potentially train twice a week if we can, Tuesday, Thursdays. Again, when you have a game on a Tuesday night, depending on what type of game it's been, what type of performance it's been, you probably get, you sometimes get the night off on a Thursday. If a game's called off on a Saturday, we normally do a fitness session, whether that's, a boxing session, beach session, etc. But yeah, it's just the 2 nights, what we train. And, for me, I'm not a big, I'll be honest, I'm not a big gym goer, or I'm not a big gym goer or anything like that. I just want to play games, and as long as myself, is prepared for games, I'll always make sure that I'm 100% for games, keep myself injury free. But yeah, the Tuesdays and Thursdays for me it's enough.
Yeah. No, I can get that, especially if you're working as well. You've got families, it's difficult. A couple of next ones are probably a bit heavier questions. But what factors have aided you in achieving your current goals as a player?
I think just good people, just good coaches. I've been very lucky to work with some, very good coaches. Going from going from grassroots from when I started to now. I've never been in a I've never been in a dressing room where, I've felt, I haven't felt the best or, anything like that. I've always worked with, good people, and I think, you have to shot in family there. You have to shot in family as well. They make sure that when you were a kid and etc., you were getting to training, getting the right foods in you and making sure that you're prepared for a match day. But yeah, I mean, obviously the longer my career has been, I've got my own family now. Obviously I've got a 17-month-old boy now, so to have two families basically to look on us and keep us on the right path. I think that's a massive asset in my career. But yeah, just working with good coaches, the likes of Colin Cooper when I was a scholar at Borough. The likes of working with Chris Hardy at Whitby, Darren Williams, who got me into Whitby, and then now we've got Nathan Haslam and Matthew Bates, Jonathan Franks as your coaches now. So yeah, I mean, just good people around us. What's basically kept us on the straight and narrow and making sure that my career is top draw.
Great stuff, and that's answered the second question. A lot of that as well, like obviously what aspect of training and coaching is aided development. So you've answered a lot of that in that one. Getting on to a few more light-hearted ones. Do you have a sporting hero? May not be in football; it could be in something else.
I mean, this was probably the toughest question.
You can have more than one if you want.
Yeah, I mean, growing up and obviously watching goalkeepers and watching football. Again, I go back to the Man United. Growing up and watching Van der Sar. I mean, actually, it devastated me when he left Man United and obviously retired. But yeah, just the likes of Van der Sar, just how he would play on a match day, and I mean, I remember watching the Champions League final when they played Chelsea and won on penalties. Just moments like that. I mean, he had such good distributions, a great shot stopper, and he was just a solid goalkeeper at Man United. But if I was going to say sporting heroes, I mean, I'd probably say, I do like my golf, so I'd probably go with like Tiger Woods on that one.
Good stuff.
Tiger Woods is just, he's the GOAT of golf. Let's be honest. Again, just watching him, play the sport and, just incredible. But yeah, I don't really, like I said, I don't have a set sporting hero. Again, just go back to good people, sports people just being good people on and off what they do.
Good stuff. And what's the most important thing to you as a football player or a goalkeeper or a football player? I'm guessing it's probably better.
Again, I'd probably just I'd go back to family.
Yeah.
Massive. I'm a massive believer of that. And just having good people around you. You get stories where probably, players have went down the wrong paths of hanging about with the wrong people or just not having, family with them. Again, it just, I mean, I went through a bit of a mental phase, a good few years back, which I had to go through the PFA with. And again, luckily, I did have my family members. I had my mum, I had my mum, I had my granddad, who's been a massive part of my career. So yeah, I mean, and obviously now I've got a son. You come up, I think when you get to my age, I mean, I'm only 28, but I've experienced a lot since 18. Since 16, and when you get to a point in your career, you know, sometimes you take a step back and you basically say, you know, sometimes in life there's more to football. And like I said, so, you know, some of that stuff's your family, and you know, you just got to take care of yourself sometimes.
Yeah. The next two I'll put together because you mentioned golf, but do you play any other sports, and what do you do for fun?
So I mean, like I said, I do a bit. Obviously, I do a bit. Obviously, one of my hobbies, I like to stream a lot. I mean, I'm very into video games, and you know, love watching podcasts, etc. To be fair, I mean, I've always been quite an all rounder in sport. I've liked all sports, you know, golf, tennis, boxing. I do love my boxing. But yeah, just a bit of an all rounder, really. I can't really put a finger on that. You know, I like I'd say the probably only sport I don't like is obviously Formula One. I mean, could you really call that a sport? I'm not too sure.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that one.
But yeah, I'd probably say if I was gonna you know, play a sport, it would be golf, most definitely. Like I said, golf it can be frustrating, but you know, you're socialising with your mates. You know, I play a lot with my granddad still. You know, he's still swinging the clubs at 70, 76. So, but yeah, I'd probably say golf.
Excellent. And you hear about different people having superstitions or routines. Do you have a superstition or a routine before every game?
I've heard some crazy ones in my time, but I'd probably say the only superstition I have is, you know, left boot goes on first, right boot goes on next, then left glove, right glove. That's probably the only superstition I have.
I've never heard that one before, but that's good.
Yes. Sometimes if I haven't played well in a pair of, if I haven't played well in a pair of gloves, whether they're being old on you, you know, I'd give them a chance. Don't get me wrong. You know, if I play one game in them, I've had a bad game, you know, I'll give them a chance. If I have a bad game in that second one, or I've conceded or whatever, then I change gloves. There was a point this season. There was a point this season where obviously we didn't have the best of starts. I was wearing I mean, I'm sponsored by the GKM, but obviously different cuts, different styles.
Yeah.
I wasn't having the greatest time in those games. Obviously, not much personally, but we weren't winning games. Once I changed my gloves, I kept my first clean sheet. So, yeah, I've got a bit of a thing with gloves. You know, like I said, I can't have once they start, you know, going on the latex, obviously on the palms and whatever, then you know they go in the training bin,
yeah. and
it's time for a brand new pair. But yeah, definitely the left foot, right foot, and then left glove, right glove is a superstition for me.
Well, you must be wearing the same gloves this week then after a clean sheet through the week. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You won't have to worry about that.
To be fair, the game before that, we obviously we got beat 3-1 off Guiseley, brand new pair of gloves. So I thought, right, I'll give him a chance. I'll give him a chance midweek.
Great result. That was a great result, by the way, as well.
Fantastic result. I mean, like I said, Morpeth for no mugs. I mean, they're up there for a reason. They play good football. You know, they know the dark arts of the game as well. Which, to be fair, in non-league, you need a little bit of that. I mean, teams don't like it. Other supporters who don't, you know, who watch their teams and see it. We've seen a couple of incidents, you know, probably on Twitter, etc. But do you know what? I mean, if that's going to win you a game of football, then you know, in non-league, so be it. But yeah, I mean, they've got a lovely AstroTurf set up there now. And like I said, obviously the pitch was, you know, slick on Tuesday. And again, it's a tough place to go to. I think I've played there 3 times now. Won 1, lost 2.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the football through the week, and I had flash goes on in your game and you scored early, and I'm thinking, keep a clean sheet, because you're coming to have an interview.
Yeah.
Keep a clean sheet,
To be fair, it was one of my best. Probably one of my best games. It's probably one of the better games I've had this season. But yeah, it was a great result, and like I said, it just it's just we've just had a bit of bad luck. Whether it's been injuries, whether it's just conceding at the wrong times. We've had that bad luck this season so far, but we're just starting to change things. We're just starting to turn the screw a little bit, and like I said, we hope for more of that tomorrow.
So over here, well, you'll be getting into 10 years eventually when you're this end of this time. But who's the best manager in that time you've worked with? Without I'm not going to hang yourself here, but who's the best manager you've worked with?
Yeah, I mean, again, I've worked with some really good coaches. Obviously for Middlesbrough, it was Colin Cooper, most definitely. Very, a gentleman of, big high standards. But yeah, I mean, since my non-league career, I'd have to go with Chris Hardy. Obviously, I got introduced to Chris when I went on loan to Gisborough when I got released from Middlesbrough. And, I played about 10 to 15 games there, and just his philosophy of how he wants to play. Wants to play. Played from the back. Played proper football. Wanted all his teams to play proper football. I mean, he's obviously at Bishop Auckland now, top of the league, and you can see why, because he's probably got him. I mean, considering Bishop Auckland were, survived relegation last season, to then turn the cog and get him top of the table at the moment, grinding results out week in, week out. That's the Chris Hardy way. Again, I was devastated when he resigned. Obviously, I think work got in the way. I think the travel got in the way, etc. And we didn't expect. And to be fair, no one expected him to go back into management. And then obviously the Bishop Auckland job came up, and obviously he's took it on board. So, but he's a great manager. He's a great person to speak to. I mean, he was someone who would always give me a call and make sure I was okay. And but yeah, just a great guy, and he had a fantastic philosophy and a great footballing brain.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to get on now. Like, have you got a best and a worst moment? You don't have to have a worst moment, but have you got a best moment in playing football in your career?
I have, yes. I mean, we got to. So it was the first time in so many years where we got to the third qualifying round of the FA Cup. Played Gloucester at home. We were winning 1-0. Obviously, Gloucester were in the league above. And anyway, we conceded in the last minute. So we had to basically go down there on a Monday night. So Gloucester's 4 hours, 4.5 hours. It was a hell of a long day. We there was lads who couldn't make it, whether they were injured, working.
Yeah.
Just because of the set off time. I think we set off at about 2:00. So yeah, we just couldn't get a team. So basically, again, Charlie was manager, pulls us off the bus at one of our stops, and basically says, right, obviously, I haven't got much of a team. We played one of our centre halves up top. We had, lads who have been on the bench for a long time. They had to come in and step in and play. End up going down there, scoring early. Centre half scored. We played up top. We went. So that was 1-0. I think that was 1-0. Then we went 2-0 up. Again, centre half scored. Couldn't believe it. We held on in the game for a little bit. They ended up scoring. So then obviously you got a bit of, it got a little bit squeaky, and we thought, are we drifting here? And then managed to get a third goal. One of their lads scored an own goal. So that was an unbelievable night. It was just, the fact that we had our goalkeeper coach on the bench as a striker. He actually came on I think he came on for the last 5 to 10 minutes. Because lads were just that knackered.
Yep.
We just couldn't do any more. All the lads that night just put everything into it, and to come away and be in the fourth round qualifier was unbelievable. Worst night in my career, worst time in my career. I was probably when I moved to Spennymoor, and obviously I went from Whitby, and I've spoke on interviews about this, and obviously I basically forced to move a little bit. I know obviously Spennymoor were interested. They were interested for quite a while, and just from there, forced the move, got the move over the line. Felt, and then it just, reality hit that when I was playing, etc. I would see photos, and I could just see I was just way overweight, totally overweight. I thought I was going into a league where it's going to be similar to the Northern Premier League, and I would have easily played in that league easy. I was totally wrong. Much faster, quicker, more, lads, played professional, big players. And again, went in, did okay. Had a couple of dizzy spells, couple of games where I'd just, I'd fling a boo-boo in. I think we lost one game whilst I was in goal, and we drew a couple, and then all of a sudden, we played FA Trophy. Again, had a stinker of a game. Went to penalties, managed to get us through by saving one. And then on the Monday morning, just getting a phone call off the gaffer and basically saying, "Oh, we're gonna drop you for the next game. You need to lose weight."
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and then from there, obviously, I was back on the bench. I had to wait 2 or 3 games to get into the team, and from there it was a bit of a tough ride because I wasn't used to being on the bench. I think the last time I was on the bench was when I was at Middlesbrough, and so yeah, it was just. I think that then the mental side of stuff, it started to creep in. Then I went to West Auckland, which again for a Northern League club is a fantastic club. They got us back on the rise a little bit, just confidence boosts. But I just still felt this doubt in my mind, and just went through a bit of a mental phase. Obviously, bit of mental health, and got a bit of depression stepped in, a little bit of stress, etc. And it just took its toll. Obviously went counselling, got it sorted, and then again just carried on back on with my football. And yeah, I mean from there, I think that was probably my lowest point in my career. I mean, you can go, the games I've played, getting beat off Darlow 7-1. Blythe, we had to win that game. We played Blythe, had to win that game to potentially secure a playoff place, getting beat 5-0 that day. And there's games like that, but I think when it comes to your mental health, then that's got to be your worst point in the career.
Definitely. And to go forward from there, you must have done loads, but have you got a favourite save from your career so far?
I mean, there's times where I've made saves and people say, how has he got that? And I've questioned myself, how have I got that? But I'd probably go to this season. We played Mask away, and they had a shot on the edge of the box. The way the ball was moving, I couldn't get it wide enough. So I've managed to, I've tried to keep hold of it, spilt. Ball's luckily gone in the air, which gave me a little bit of time to get up. Their lads, I know their striker who actually headed it, Adam Boyes, he he's basically headed it. You know, I mean, he couldn't have done. I don't think he could have done anything more. And I just sprung up and just got it round the post. And I mean, I look at that save and I just think, how have I got that? But again, I mean, this pre-season, I've done a lot of work with my weight. I mean, I've always, you know, throughout my career, I've always struggled with my weight. You know, got myself fit in the summer, and then it gets to about this time, and gets about October, December. Obviously, Christmas coming around the corner, etc. It just gets a little bit harder. So yeah, I mean, I look at that, and I said to my goalkeeper coach straight afterwards, I said, if that was 3 months ago, I wouldn't have got that. So yeah, I would definitely go to the mask game, most definitely. I mean, how I just sprang up and got a hand on it and got it on the post. I just, I do not know.
Good stuff. Before we get on to the coach, I want to slip a quick question in. I was just wondering, if you get to 10 years, are testimonials a thing anymore? Or do they happen? Or
I think they are. I mean, I'm hoping for a testimonial. You know what I mean?
I just thought of that before. I'm thinking, if you get to 10 years, do they still do testimonials? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be approaching the club for a testimonial, most definitely. I mean, it would have been this year, I think, if I didn't leave for that season. But yeah, I mean, if testimonials are about still, then yeah, count me in.
Yeah, good stuff. I quickly touch on the coaching as well, and for young kids especially. The first thing was, what advice would you give for any young kids interested in becoming a goalkeeper? And then obviously you can push on to because I noticed you're involved from your Twitter with the Premier Player as well. So if you could just touch on that quickly, on the advice to young kids wanting to be a goalkeeper and the Premier Player.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been a Premier Player for 10 years now, over 10 years with Andrew Collett. Again, Andrew Collett's, even though I've done 1 or 2 sessions with him, just for our promotion, for promotion cases, which again, fantastic coach, whether that's doing the goalkeeping or the outfielding, everything very basic. But if I was going to give advice to kids, just enjoy it. I think you've got to enjoy it. Of course, you've got to work hard. You've got to have a good attitude. If you're a goalkeeper, particularly, you've got to have a good mental attitude, a good mentality. You see it a lot now where, for me personally, my mum or my granddad or etc. didn't really, kept me on the straight and narrow, but didn't really push me. So they basically just said to me, look, if you want it, you've got to work hard. Obviously, I think these days you do see, a lot of parents basically, pushing. And I think that's probably, as a parent, that's probably the worst thing you can do. Okay, be supportive, be there for your son or daughter or, whoever you're looking after. But, just don't push them too much, because that's when kids start listening to the parents and don't start listening to the coaches. That's what we coach for. That's what we're teaching the kids. You see it a lot. Not just I'm not saying you see it at Premier Player, but you see it just in general. I mean, obviously I see it a lot where I've got my own under 15s team, and when you're walking around Hull Drive and you're seeing parents trying to coach their kids, that's what we've got coaches for. That's what you've got a coach for, to teach your kids. It's up to the coach to make your son a better player. Okay, yeah, give advice. Or if you're not sure, ask the coaches for advice. But if I was going to give advice to kids, like I said, hard work, dedication, a massive thing. Sacrifice. A lot of sacrifice. I've sacrificed a lot to where I want to be now. But yeah, the most important thing is you've got to work hard. You have to. Good
stuff. And I want to touch on the GKN that I see in your Twitter bio as well.
Yep, absolutely. So that's a goalkeeper brand based in the Manchester region. Obviously, I touched ground with those. I touched ground with them. I think it was around about 2020. So I've been with them, about two and a half years now. So, I mean, GKN's it's a network where you're getting a lot of, goalkeepers from any level, whether it's our level. I mean, I've got a couple of mates who actually play in our league. I've got one of the lads who plays for Darlow. Not much having to wear the gloves, but it's just getting goalkeepers together. So after on a Saturday, asking how everyone got on, did everyone have a good game, and just being there for each other, really.
Yeah, good stuff.
But the main two who obviously run it, Chris and Ollie, they've been fantastic with myself. Very supportive. Whether that's again just having a chat, whether it's just needing gloves, and again just even though it's Manchester where you'd think that the gloves would take a while to come, the service is absolute second to none. And like I said, I'll get it in there if anyone wants any gloves, and plan 10% discount. So it's like, gotta get the discount code in. But I mean, it's a great goalkeeping community. As you can see, they've done very, very well. They've grew as a brand, and I mean, I can see future times with the brand and with the gloves.
Good stuff. Well, I'm going to give all them links out from the Twitter. So your Twitter is Bland Shane 1. Your TikTok is Shane Bland 1. Whitby Town FC on Twitter, Premier Player 1 on Twitter, and the GKN on Twitter. It's been absolutely class talking to you, Shane. If you stay on for a minute when we finish, I'll just have a quick chat with you, but that was absolutely class. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say.
No, that's brilliant. Honestly, I'd like to thank you for touching base and getting us on. Been an absolute pleasure.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Good luck for the weekend.
Cheers, pal.